Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Whoa, what is up? I'm Jared Welch, Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, September 26th, and this is Blinkers Off, dude. Hey, we got this weekend and next weekend, and that's it for the Breeders' Cup races. How's it going?
Oh, good. Yeah, and that is an exciting way to get it going. The last two major preps. Sometimes that October, second weekend in October, we might get one or two horses, but no official races then. But yeah, just a couple of weeks, 3 if you count that one. And then it's 2 weeks of lead up to the Breeders' Cup, and then it's here. So yeah, it's awesome. I think I really like what Santa Anita's tried to do on Saturday. Try to build another major day of racing. I don't know if that will work out, but I like the attempt. I like the effort. I like when you see tracks trying to make an effort like that. So that's good. Racing should be good there, and Churchill really good. And Belmont, the Big A is not bad either. So big weekend in store.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like you said, like it's just a big, like you got a legit, I mean, the California Crown, which I was like, what the hell is that race? And then, after doing some research, you're like, oh, it's the Awesome again. But, we have that, which obviously forget the name, some big time players, and the Lucas Classic, which I don't know how big time players are, but maybe some horses that one or two that could try the Classic. We'll see that. There's a lot of horses. I feel like, it's that point of the year, right? Or of the preps where it's not just, hey, we're going to give this a go. This is like their final prep for the goal of the Breeders' Cup. And so you're starting to see the legit players start to show up for those. Because even to the horses that like, where have they been? Well, now it's like they have, you got to run them, right? They got to get a race in to see what they, if they are capable of getting to the Classic or whatever prep race or Breeders' Cup race there is. So lots to talk about. Obviously, like I said, this weekend and next weekend. And then that's it. We're prepping, dude. This is the last week of September, and it's gonna be next week October and shit. This year the Breeders' Cup falls first, like November 1st. So you literally have a month. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how it's sneaking up on us. And like you said, the Breeders' Cup in that first 2 days there in November, and that's always kind of fun when it's a little bit earlier in the calendar like that. And I think, as we've gone on, there are a few prep races that are really important in the older divisions, but I think we kind of know and understand it's the 2-year-olds, and we'll talk about some this weekend next, that really, all of them are, for the most part, are taking those final steps. So big time racing. We're talking turf and dirt when we talk about those as well. So those are massively important races, some this week, some next week. And then, like you said, with the California Crown, yeah, going to be some contenders there. Are they the number one contenders, some of the top contenders? I'm not sure. Maybe this will kind of help us. But, the way they run the horses now, a lot of them kind of in that older division have already got their prep races out of the way. But there's still a lot to learn last 2 weeks regardless.
All right. Let's a few things, obviously, to talk about before we get into this weekend's racing. Let's talk about a few things, the most recent ones, and then we'll go backwards to last weekend. But we're talking about a lot of classic races this weekend, and one of the common themes has been, well, this year is, if there's ever been a year, this feels like a year that someone from overseas is going to finally win this thing. And we had kind of one of the final preps overseas from the Japan side of things, and Ushba Tesoro, who's coming over, and Derma. Raced in a prep race. Forever Young has spiked a fever, but does sound like he's still going to race in a final prep. We'll see. And of course, he's heading to the Classic as well as the plan. But Ushba and Derma ran and both lost. Derma did not look good at all. Finished just distant. I think it was 5th. And Ushba actually ran a nice race, just couldn't quite get there in time. So is there anything you took from that? Or is it more like, I still think Forever Young might be that horse that could do it, but we haven't seen the horse has not ran since he ran in the Derby.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Forever Young. Ushba Tesoro, Derma Sotogate, they could win it. I never really considered them serious candidates for the Classic to begin with. So I thought Ushba ran okay, but again, I think if they win, I'm going to lose type of thing. Even if they would have won, one of them would have won that race. So it was nice to see him back, and I'm happy they're in the race, stuff like that, but didn't take him serious. But I think Forever Young is a horse I'm taking very serious. Would love to see him run very well coming back. But you said it. Haven't seen him since the Derby, spiking a fever, and we don't really know, is he going to be 100% or what? So that race is intriguing to me. With the asterisk of I don't know who he's running against and I don't care, type of thing. I'm just going to be watching
about seeing what he does. Yeah.
Yeah. And so other than that, I think I just want to see him run well and get to the Classic, I guess is the summary of what I'm trying to say.
I'll be honest with you. Like, it depends on what happens because not spoiler alert, but love me some Muth. We'll see if he can actually get to the race, but we'll see what he does this weekend. But if Forever Young goes out there and looks pretty damn good, I'm gonna have a hard time not picking him in the Classic.
Yeah,
I feel like it's begging. Like I said, and maybe your City of Troy. We'll see. That horse is probably gonna be bet hard in the race. It feels like, but like I've seen enough. Like Forever Young was like whenever he did that in the Derby, I was like, oh, okay, like he's the real deal. And it's been forever, right? It seems like it's been forever. Like since when he was running prior to the Derby, and you're like, yeah, this was a really good horse. You just didn't think you didn't know if he was really that good until you ran in the Derby. So yeah, I think if he runs back, like I'm gonna have a hard time going against him.
I think the flip side of it for me is I don't know. It's gonna depend on if he can get out of the gate a little bit, get better, and get a little bit better positioning. Things really didn't go well for him as far as a trip goes in the Kentucky Derby, but he couldn't beat Sierra Leone and he couldn't beat Mystic Dan. So I mean, are you excited to bet Sierra Leone in the Classic? Probably not. And I get that you're hoping things go differently from him from a trip standpoint, but how good is he really? I still am not sure. I'm not sure. Even after that Derby, the way that Derby's kind of lined out, it's like, yeah, that was really damn impressive. But if he was that good, wouldn't he have got that extra nose up and won that race? I don't know. I'm still on the fence.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, like, it's fair. It's what you said is totally fair. And that is going to be the question of, you're going to have that kind of sinking feeling the whole time. The flip side is he got maybe the worst trip of all time. Maybe not. Maybe that's a little bit dramatic, but he definitely got the worst trip of anyone in the top four there.
It's fair.
By a margin. Certainly worse than Mystic Dan. And Sierra Leone, yeah, I mean, that's fair. But also I would argue he runs a pretty good race every single time. He just isn't quite good enough to win.
Yep.
And he caused a ton of issues down the stretch that probably would have prolonged or put Forever Young maybe in the winner's circle, really. I mean, honestly. So, I think there is excuses, but it's a fair point. So, again, that's why I think seeing him back off of that race is going to be so critical when he come over here. And I mean, obviously, fierceness is going to be fierceness. I'm not going to pick him to win just because I'm just there. I'm not going to be disappointed by him, but also he is a factor, obviously, every time he comes over here and runs. Shoddy, yeah, like from what I heard, it was just from the reports, it's very minor. It wasn't like it was more like it was really hot over, and he got a little warm. So not a huge issue. They still are totally on pace for running next week. I think it's Wednesday in that prep. And then, of course, he'll come over here. So it doesn't seem like it's a concerning thing at all. It's just more like, hey, he missed a work or he needed to take a break from working because of that. So I'm not too concerned yet from that news. All right. So we'll talk more about the Classic as we get down that road. Well, I guess we could go to the more Classic talk. Cesar Gray wins the Pennsylvania Derby. We'll get to the cotillion next, but Cesar Gray. By the way, you were at the game, so you were probably having a hard time kind of following it. But it was like after the race, you're like, "What?" Like, of course he won. He was bet so hard the whole time. Like from the first click, this horse was pounded, and you're like, "What am I missing?" Like, we sat here and talked about it last week, and we're like, we're not even going to use him, and then he goes and wins, and he does it like kind of just kind of dominant, really. So one, how surprised were you in that effort? And two, hold the phone. This horse still has a shot at 3-year-old of the year.
Yeah, it's crazy because you're going to go to the Breeders' Cup Classic off of that race, I would assume. A Preakness winner, Pennsylvania Derby winner, he should be in the Classic. And I mean, if he could win it, he would be 3-year-old of the year and might be horse of the year possibly. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's not go there. Okay, I can't handle that.
Look, I say it on the show every week. Nobody really listens, but that's fine. I'll say it again. People, you got to just stop thinking that there's going to be hot paces in these big races. It just rarely happens. And it does happen. It does. I'm not going to sit here and say it never happens, but it just doesn't. It doesn't formulate like it looks on paper very often. And we sat here and everybody was like, there's no chance for any of these front runners, too fast. They're going to be going way too fast. Nobody went. He went. And all of a sudden he's loose on the lead. And I'm getting text messages. Well, they let him walk. They always let horses walk. Like that's these races. And, I text you and John and Ryan after the race. I said, Lucas and Baffert have won all these dirt races over the years. And a lot of times because they have great horses. And a lot of times they send their fucking horses to the lead. And that's how you win, and that's what happened. And honestly, I didn't bet Seize the Gray because I thought he was done. I didn't think he would have enough juice left to get to the lead. But when I was watching, I'm like, well, he's at the half mile pole and he's loose and there's nobody around him. I was like, if he has anything, they won't catch him because all the speed horses, for whatever reason, just didn't go. And that same thing happened in the Preakness, but it's the same thing that happens almost every race. So I'm not surprised after I saw where he was that he won. And look, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't think he's that kind of horse, but he's now a dual grade 1 winner. And I don't know how you could say much negative about the horse anymore. Just fantastic.
It's just one of those races where, after the fact, you're not I'm not even mad. I'm just like, I just can't, like, that just happened. Like, cause if the horse wins at like 10-1, you're like, the way the horse was bet, you're like, of course, being the ownership, that's always going to be a factor that kind of makes maybe it not a legit type bet, but still for that, the horse is going up the favorite for pretty much the whole time and then goes and wins like a favorite. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like really? Mm-hmm. I was happy, for Lucas. I always am. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I can't do anything with this horse. So
yeah.
I just don't think he's very good. That's the thing, and it's like but he's a dual grade 1 winner. He won one of the Classic or one of the Triple Crown races. Yeah, I mean, he won the Pennsylvania Derby. I don't know if he's gonna go to the Classic or the Dirt Mile. But listen, like Ron says, like let's just pretend. Like I thought, if you would have said this time last week that hey, Seize the Gray could win the Horse of the Year, I'd be like, dude, like you're smoking something,
right?
But if he were to run in the Classic and win, it might be hard to. He won, won Triple Crown race. He won Pennsylvania Derby, and he won the Classic. That would certainly be right up there.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And he, like I said, 2 grade 1s. He also won the Pat Day Mile, which is it was not a good running of the race, but it's a win in the Pat Day Mile, and that means something, So. You just got to give him credit. And look, I think we kind of talked about that race was pretty weak, and it ran like a pretty weak race. And but again, if you got speed and you can get out by yourself and you can hold that lead, you're going to take him a long ways. And that's what he did. So like I said, he's a Preakness winner, he's a Pennsylvania Derby winner, he's a Pat Day Mile winner. That's pretty darn good resume.
Yeah, Ron, you're right. And honestly, like, is Stronghold not like the poor man's Sierra Leone? I mean, it's like he like we talked about it last week, where it's like this seems like a race that he could win or should win. Just a matter of, is he good enough? And the answer is no, he's not, because he had everything perfect. Once again, looked like he was going to like get up there, range up, and go, and he just can't do it.
Yeah, I thought he was going to win. I never really thought, and again, I'm watching on my phone, but I never really thought Dragoon Guard was going to win. It just kind of felt like he was going to run okay, but not great. But Stronghold looked like he had a little more juice heading for home, and he did not. I think Stronghold is he's okay. Like I don't know where the problem is. Like, I don't know where he's going to find a race that you feel really good about betting him, unless he really takes a drop into a level where he's not going to be bettable. So he's kind of that in betweener, and that's, he ran okay though. That wasn't bad.
All right, the race of the day, or at least the kind of anticipated race of the day, or maybe even I should say the horse of the day, was of course Thorpedo Anna running the cotillion. Was like 1-9. Just, I mean, never a doubt as far as the betting standpoint, and got a little close there. She got the job done. It was one of those races where you didn't, just because you know she is, you still were like, she's going to get it there. But at the same time, you didn't necessarily feel super great about it the whole time until she won. I mean, she won, right? It's a W on paper. She got another grade 1 under her belt. She's going to head to the distaff, and I think the horse of the year does go through her if she were to win the distaff. But did you take anything negative out of it? Did you say, well, maybe she's a little tired off of that? Or did you say, yeah, it just is what it is. She won another one.
I mean, she clearly bounced, and we talked about if she could she win the race if she bounces, and we said yes, and we were right.
Yeah.
She clearly bounced. I really didn't think she would run that poorly. I thought she would run, her normal race where maybe she doesn't get a great figure, but it's an easy victory. The only kind of thing that I would say is it's another grade 1 on the resume, and that's very important for her right now. I never really thought she was going to lose the race. You just kind of felt like the whole time it's like, yeah, this is going to be okay, right? Like, this is okay. Nothing great. It did get a little bit closer than I thought it would, but I never really thought she was in trouble. The other thing I'll say about that race, though, who showed up besides the runner-up, right? Like, all those horses we thought, well, this one could maybe beat her. This one could maybe beat her. And we kind of go down that list. Shit, none of them ran very well. So to me, Parks is a strange place, and maybe a lot of them just didn't like the surface. I know they had to totally scrap the turf races at Parks after they ran one race over there and thought it was, not fit to be run on. So anyway, end of the day, it's a win. She bounced and she still won, and she's gonna have to run better to win at the Breeders' Cup. But who's to say she can't?
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it up here on the screen here. I mean, she's 1-9. She's a 6 horse there on the inside. Mystic Lake goes the lead, but yeah, I didn't really necessarily look at it. I mean, like you said, she bounced, and I kind of thought she might, after that kind of effort in that last race. So the one thing you say about her is, man, she just knows how to win. She's just a gutty horse. Like, when she like we saw in the, that was the first time we really saw it was at Travers, because that was the first time she was really tested. And you saw, like, when she kind of narrowed in on fierceness, like, oh, she's coming, she's going to go get him. She just knows how to win races. And there's a lot to be said to that.
Absolutely. There's a ton to be said to that. And I just really felt like, again, I just never felt like she was losing. And I think
they definitely had some games going here too as well. They tried to keep her inside as much as they could. Look, I mean, and she had to battle her way out. And then when she gets, she obviously is too fast to go, to be held in too much. But I still thought she was going to win. It just wasn't ultra impressive.
I agree. Like right there, you look at it, it's like, oh, it's going to be a win. It's going to be pretty easy. And then, like, right here, it's like, oh boy, she hit the idle button a little bit.
He definitely let off the gas, but still.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not overly concerned about it, to be honest. I know some people really are like, oh gosh, she's lost it completely. She ran a race in the Travers that was so much better than what they've ever asked of her to do. And sometimes this happens, right? But that doesn't mean it's always going to be like, oh, she can't run to that elite level anymore. So she got it done, and I'm not overly concerned.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely let off right here, and then he got it's like, all right,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's interesting, I'd say, but you know, you look at who's in the distaff, and I don't really know that I mean, I don't know how I'm really necessarily picking against her. So
Yeah.
you still, you know, she's a horse that maybe you wish she had a little more time between now and the distaff, but you know, 6 weeks, I mean, should be good enough.
Should be fine. Yeah.
And I still think, by the way, I mean, I think it's pretty clear she is the top contender for horse of the year. She wins the distaff. Do you think if she wins, we're closer now, if she wins the distaff, Fierceness wins the Classic, who's your vote?
Fierceness.
I mean, if he wins the Classic, I think Classic trumps distaff for a couple of them, right?
Oh, and Classic trumps distaff, and head to head all goes to Fierceness. So to me, it's like if he loses, she's got it. If he wins, she hasn't. In my opinion, she shouldn't have any chance at winning it. So now,
so really, you could I mean, not argue. You could say the better way to put it is Fierceness is in the driver's seat.
Oh,
right?
1,000,000,000%. But we've seen him crash that car, truck, whatever you want to call it, train, whatever he's driving. We've seen him crash that several times.
Ferrari, I think.
Yeah. So if he doesn't crash it, he's gonna win it, you know. But I'm with you. I still don't trust him fully.
Yeah, I mean, well, how can you? You know,
right?
He could win by, you know, honestly, he could win for. I don't know. It kind of has a similar feeling to White Barrio, where you're like, I don't really want to pick him, and I really don't. I mean, I don't think he's that. Like, I think he can be beat, but at the same time, it's like he just keeps running these crazy good races. And if Fierceness finally has figured out a way, because you know he ran back-to-back good ones, if he's figured out whatever, you know, then yeah, I mean his best race is good enough. Is definitely good enough to win it. I mean,
100%.
we know that.
Yep, 100%. And I would rather it be White Barrio because you know I was pretty confident that last year he was going to run well, and I can never be confident in Fierceness. But you know, look, I think some of the races we're going to talk about today, we're going to see that you know it's going to be tough. You know, Adair Manor has been retired, so the distaff getting easier for Thorpedo Anna, and the Classic's probably going to get nothing but tougher over the next couple of weeks for Fierceness. So it's, you know, it's a tough race to win. We know that.
It would be a bummer. I'll say this, and for someone that's still kind of pissed at him for losing in the Derby like he did, but it would be a bummer for him in the connections. And I don't really care about Rapoli, but you know, some of the connections that, like, if the horse runs a great race, but like if you want to say Forever Young, or if you want to say City of Troy, or one of these kind of quote unquote wild cards that, you know, run just a monster race and beat him, and he runs second to like a big time effort, and she wins, and like you said, like she wins, and the distaff field really is. I mean, she beats Idiomatic or whatever, you know, like
sure,
it would be kind of a bummer for him to run that good of a race, because you said it's a tougher race, and that's not even a stretch to think. So, but if she wins and he loses, regardless, it's gonna. I mean, she's going to get the vote.
Yeah, human beings vote on this award. I always say that, and human beings vote for the best story a lot of times. And you know, I think that she is a better story for sure. But you know, again, you know, City of Troy could beat him. Forever Young could beat him. I mean, anybody could beat him, and it is gonna. That's probably gonna be it. It's a win and you're in situation for him. But again, the other thing, you know, you can't assume just Thorpedo Anna is going to win. If she runs how she did in the Cotillion, she might not win. And then he's really in the driver's seat as long as he just runs okay. He could suffer a close loss and maybe still win it. So it's going to be decided on November 2nd. And, you know, hopefully they both get there and they're in good shape, and we get to see what they can do. You know, that's the other thing. Last year, how many horses did we lose? Not just in the weeks leading up, but in the days leading up to the race. So,
well, shit, we see that all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, so, so you can't really count on it until until
Yeah.
they basically get to the gate, you know. So yeah, it's we've seen it over and over. It feels like. I wanted to touch on this. Like, does it make you question? We're talking about Thorpedo Anna. The question, the Travers buyer speed figure. It doesn't for me. And here's why. Well, one, I think it's clear she bounced so in that last race. But two, look what the buyer figures that Fierceness has been running. And what it's not like he spiked up a huge one in the Travers. No, when he runs his race, he runs a legit triple digit buyer. He did run a triple digit buyer. She damn near beat him. How could you not give him or give her a high buyer for that? So to me, no, I don't at all. I just think she bounced.
I don't care about the buyers, number one. And number two, he ran a normal race for him. And number three, they're really, I wish people would kind of understand more with these buyers. It's really just math. Like there's not a whole lot of, well, they bumped them up because of this or this. It's literally just how they finish versus the par time of the track. I mean, it really is. And can they make miscalculations on how the track was playing? Sure. But it's really not somebody in a room going, well, it's the Travers, so we better grade it higher than what our math told us. So I just don't. All these speed figures, they're all the same thing, got to different ways, basically. And it's what the numbers tell them, and that's what comes out, you know? So I don't worry about it. No.
I do, like we've said on the show, though. Just I do think there is some like that. In this case, it doesn't factor in because they were like noses apart. But like when it's like say the 5th place horse in the Travers, you know, or whatever, like it's a higher number than they probably should have got because that number was so high for the winners. So I do think you have to factor that in sometimes. But for this case, I mean, like I said, they finished. I mean, if she finished like 5 links off, then you might say, well, yeah, maybe it was a little high for her that race, but I don't think that was the case in this one. Nope. So, all right, let's get into today's show. We're going to preview and get picks for the weekend's Breeders' Cup. It's a big time weekend. Breeders' Cup, winning you're in. Challenge Series races from Aqueduct or Belmont at the Big A, I should say. Churchill Downs, Santa Anita Park, including the $1 million California Crown Stakes. That's right. It's a winning you're in for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's go. Ron, I think he's committed to the distaff for sure with her. So yeah. She's not running, and why would she? She has nothing to gain and everything to lose by running the Classic. So, in my opinion.
And you know, she took her shot against the boys and did it well, and she doesn't really need to do it again. Even if she would have won, she doesn't really need to. You know.
Yeah, I think honestly, if she would have won the Travers, she'd still be in the distaff. Because why do you need why do you, like you said, there's no point of being in it. You know.
Probably
especially
so.
With Horse of the Year on the line.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
It just, you know, it's a tough, that'd be the first. It's got to be right. I don't think there's ever been there's never been a 3-year-old filly to win the Classic. I don't even know how many 3-year-old fillies have ran in the Classic.
I'm trying to think. No, I don't know.
I mean, who would? I mean, even like Rachel didn't.
Rachel didn't run in it. I don't know of anybody that would have tried it even. Yeah.
I can't even think of one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pedlo really wants to talk about a 10K claimer tomorrow night at Remington Park.
What was that, Pedlo? You said race 4, correct? Oh, at Remington. I think Okie Code, the one horse, wins that race.
There you go.
Okie Code. Yeah. Here, let me give you some analysis real quick here. I handicapped that race this morning, actually. So I am prepared. Okie Code. Yeah, I got second last time out at the 10K level, same level. Claimed for a trainer who's pretty damn good. So moving up, I think, with the trainer situation. So give me the one Okie Code. Rainbow Smiles. I know that's yours. I have that horse in 3rd.
To the moon.
To the moon. Also moving up in trainer in a big way.
Well, okay. Well, there's a race that didn't think we talked about today that we will. All right, we got 6 Breeders' Cup. We're going to talk about 6 Breeders' Cup official Breeders' Cup winner in races, Challenge Series races. This weekend, we're going to give one extra bonus, the Lucas Classic, which isn't necessarily one, but over the years has been one that's kind of geared horses towards that race. So we'll start, Halterman, with race number 9 at Belmont at the Big A on Saturday. Race number 9, the Vosburgh Stakes. It's grade 3, 250K, 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. This is a win you're in. For the sprint, field of 7 lines up for this one. 5-2 on Comedy Town, 9-2 on Baby Yoda. Scotland 7-2. Boy, this was interesting, right?
Yeah, this is not good. Not a great race. Not a Breeders' Cup winning you're in type of race. That's for sure. I put number 5 Comedy Town on top in this one. Coming out of Gulfstream, moved to the dirt finally. 3 big wins in a row. 3 blowout victories in a row. Comes up here, and I know the natural thought is, well, this will be a much tougher field, but I don't know. Is it? I'm not quite sure. I think this group is not the greatest, and I think if Comedy Town just kind of runs the race that we've seen out of him, he'll get it done.
Listen, I not for the same reasons that Shoddy is, but I give me the 6 Mufasa. I like Mufasa here. Mufasa's also entered, but I did see the horses actually at Belmont the Big A was entered at Churchill Downs as well. But Mufasa is running off of 2 starts here in the United States. Have been running in Chile, but didn't really debut very well at Churchill, which might be a reason why they didn't run there too. That's a possibility. But came back at Colonial and ran awesome. Looked really, really good. Beat Repo Rocks that day. Who came back to win. This is a horse that just kind of feels like is getting a little bit better with each start over here in the United States. And obviously, you pick up a guy like Irad Ortiz, might mean something there as well. So, give me those number 6 Mufasa, and I'll do it for my kids, right? I'll do it for the boys. They love themselves some Mufasa, not Scar. We're not Scar fans, right? Who is?
No.
But Mufasa. Mufasa for days. We need a Simba as well. We like Simba. But all right. So Mufasa here for me. Let's head on to the Pilgrim, which is, what race number is that? Number 11, race number 11 on the card at Saturday at Belmont the Big A, the grade 2 Pilgrim Stakes, 200K, 1 1/16 miles on the outer turf for the 2-year-olds. It is, of course, a win in your end for the juvenile turf. And the storyline here between this race and the one we'll talk about on Sunday, the Miss Grillo, is which Chad Brown? Let's play the game. Which Chad Brown will you take?
I know it sucked. I'm going to go with the number 4 Zulu Kingdom this time around for Chad. I am concerned that the regular rider is not there, Flavian Pratt, who rode last time out and won the With Anticipation. But listen, I even though this horse only won by a neck, I thought he was really, really good in this one. I'm going to call Zulu Kingdom a she the rest of her life, probably because of Echo Zulu. But anyway, Zulu Kingdom a he, obviously. And I thought, even though won by neck, was really, really good. It was the first race in the United States, and I thought he was solid. Rosario gets aboard, and I know people are going to probably be worried about that. I get it. I still am going to go with this horse. He showed me a lot. If he improves second out here in the United States, he might be one I'm looking at for the Breeders' Cup, but we'll see what happens in this one.
Yeah. Part of me was like, I'll say this. I did pick the 4 Zulu Kingdom. I thought just if the number didn't come back so incredibly higher than everyone else's, I might try to beat him. I almost said her.
It's going to be tough for us.
But because you also got to look, you watched that race and like everything went perfect. The horse cut the corner, had to go up the rails, snuck up the rails, an unbelievable ride by Pratt. But on the flip side, he beat Tenacious Leader, who's a nice horse that has not ran since that race, but was a nice horse that won the race prior for Pletcher. So I mean, that was a nice win, regardless of the style. I think the 8, the other Chad Brown, is interesting. Coming in, another horse that's coming off of a win. Mile 16th debuted at that. You got the Clairvich Stables connections there, and looked like a horse that did it fairly kind of professionally. But needed, like, obviously looked like a first time starter. But I think the horse will get better in this race too. So I'm
Mhm.
not really kind of overthinking this. I think I'm going to play the Chad Browns. I mean, honestly, I'm going to play both of them. I'm not going to single Zulu. Um, him, not going to single him, but
Right.
I do think the winner of this one, and I imagine it will be Echoes Zulu Kingdom. I do believe will be someone you have to look at as we head into the Breeders' Cup. So give me the 4 Zulu Kingdom. All right, let's head to where we going? Churchill on Saturday night. We got Saturday night under the lights. That's always the racing that just always delivers. It runs exactly like the form shows every time they do that. But
Yeah.
race number 8, the Ack Ack Stakes. It's a grade 3 worth $400K, 1 mile for the 3-year-olds and up. And it is a winning in for the Big Ass Fans Dirt Mile. We got one in here. We got a couple in here that are decent, but number 7, Saudi Crown, 4-5 favorite for Brad Cox. We've seen kind of this song and dance before from Brad with as they get closer to the Breeders' Cup, finding that horse that's cutting back at a distance that could be very, very tough to beat. And Saudi Crown certainly looks that way on paper.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And I think he'll be very tough in here. I think it'll be pretty similar to what he ran last time out at Ellis. And look, at the 1 mile distance, he's always going to be tough. You kind of look at his races going 1 mile or going shorter. They are pretty tough to beat him. You really got to run big. And I just don't see anybody that's going to do it here. So, yeah, give me the number 7 Saudi Crown. Yeah, you mentioned Churchill at night. I don't know how much this hurricane, but the Rob just stole it right out of my mouth there. But it is kind of the rain part of it is heading towards Louisville during Friday night, Saturday-ish. That might not be good for this card. So maybe some adjustments made on this card, if that does happen. But, as far as right now, I think Saudi Crown wins it. I think it'll be really tough.
Well, yeah, it's certainly a factor that we have no idea what will play out. But, if they do run, I mean, and Saudi Crown doesn't scratch, is a horse that has ran twice in the slop and won one of them and damn near, won the other one to Forte. So, a horse that obviously should be able to handle it without question. But, to me, this just looks like a horse. Just forget what the track might or may not do. But just seems like a horse, dude, that is just like that. Like I said, we how many times this is what Brad does. He gets these horses that, they've tried longer and they've ran in longer races, and then he hones in on them right now, and they get to the dirt mile and they are really tough to beat. And he feels like, everything, like all the check marks are there. This is a horse that hadn't ran since, running overseas in the Godolphin Mile and didn't fare well. And obviously the race before that ran in the Saudi Cup and ran okay, really, getting beat by Senior Buscor and Ushbasoro, 2 horses that will run in the Classic. And then the horse hasn't been seen since and runs in August and wins. And obviously looked like a horse that hadn't ran since March. And so I think he's a horse that, if he does it right, should peak, have his biggest race next month or 2 months, I guess, in the Breeders' Cup. So, Saudi Crown for me. This is not an official Breeders' Cup winning or in, but we will go. It is on the card, and we will talk about it because it is going to have a horse or two probably that run in the Classic. And that's race number 10, the Lucas Classic. Grade 2, $500,000, mile and 1/8 for the 3-year-olds and up. Field of 8 shows up here, and apparently Rattle and Roll just likes to run in this race because he hasn't ran in this race since last year, and here he is again. But you also got a list of like Cook Creek, Disarm, Hit Show, a couple of horses that are like the Boulevard of Broken Dreams, so to speak. But I could tell by your face you were just on the edge of your seat waiting for this one.
This is just trash here. I went with number 4 Cook Creek on top. Been winning, although at lower levels, but been winning, and the rest of these they kind of make you want to throw up. Rattle and Roll aside, because he's more of coming off a long layoff, and he's kind of won this caliber of race before. These other horses, they just are not very good. You got Hit Show, who just had to go to, Mountaineer to win, basically. Disarm, I'm just kind of done with him. Rattle and Roll, except the layoff. Warrior Johnny, I kind of think Cook Creek is kind of meh too, but I'll give him a shot. 3 straight wins, really good connections, and I think he can get to the front and be tough to pass for some of these. So give me number 4, Cook Creek.
This is such a Shorty says I thought he retired. This is such a well, we're gonna retire him, but he loves Churchill Downs, so let's give it another try here. That's what this is, right? This is a horse that should have been retired, should be retired, probably will be retired at the end of this year. But it's like, he ran this race last year. We'll give him one more try. So listen, you pretty much said everything that I thought. It's like, I don't love Cook Creek, but he also is a horse that's like, certainly out of everyone in this field, is like the most like now horse. He's rattled off, no pun intended, rattled off 3 in a row. And yeah, they're in lower levels, but at least he's winning races. And it's Mike Maker on the front end side. Like, I could see this horse just kind of, because and that's the thing. And they could all, like, there's a bunch of them that could win, and I'm going to be 1,000% underwhelmed regardless. Even if Cook Creek wins by 5, I'm not going to look at this race and be like, oh man, Cook Creek, like, that's a horse that just keeps getting better and better. Like, this, he was claiming 40,000 3 races ago,
Yeah.
There's just not a lot. There's been years where this is a race that I'm kind of excited for because it's got 1 or 2 pretty good ones. We've seen horses prepping this for the Classic. This is not one of them.
Yeah, no, I thought about Warrior Johnny. I see Pedlo and Shoddy both like Warrior Johnny, but it's just like he sucked worse than Cook Creek recently, so that's why I went with Cook Creek. They feel the same to me.
Yeah. Where's Rich Strike? He fits here. He does fit. That would be a great spot for him. That's probably the surprise non-entry. Aaron's boy has a horse that passed horses in the Razorback.
Yeah.
Who's your boy?
I don't know what he's talking about.
You have a son that I don't know about? Is that a son?
Boy has a horse that passed horses in the Razorback 30-1.
Bolsey? You like Bolsey?
Oh, Donnie. That's Donnie's horse.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, honestly, like, I don't like that horse at all, but he could probably win, right?
I doubt it. I doubt it very seriously.
All right, let's go to some maybe some little bit higher caliber horses here. Let's go to Santa Anita. Santa Anita's back. That's great. Race number 9 is the California Crown Stakes, $1 million Grade 1 Malonade for the 3-year-olds and up, and it is a winning run for the Longines Classic. Running at Del Mar. We're going back to Del Mar for that. So field of 7 lines up here, Halterman. It's really we played the game earlier. Which Chad Brown are you taking? Well, which Bob Baffert are you taking here?
Yeah, these races are always tough because Bob Baffert has the 3 National Treasure and the 5 Muth. They seem to be the 2 main speeds in the race, and it's just a matter of they're probably going to control it. I really doubt they're going to go head to head. So which one gets the lead? Which one stalks, right? I think that's going to be the question. I really like that Flavian Pratt has come here to Santa Anita to ride National Treasure. And, I know you're probably sitting there saying, well, there's a lot of money being given away here, so why wouldn't he? And that's part of it for sure. But there's also some good horses running at his home track as well that he could have been on for less money, but still some good ones. So I think I really like that Pratt came in to ride. I just feel like he's a little faster than Muth. And I think National Treasure, if he gets out to the lead, especially at this track, I don't know that they'll get him. So I'm going to go number 3 National Treasure on top with the fact that I know number 5 Muth is going to be pretty tough. But I think if National Treasure gets the lead, I think he wins it.
And I'll be honest, it's 1,000% like hasn't playing a factor in my mind how bad he was in the Whitney, because that was just, obviously watching that, being there live, it was just a disaster, right?
Yep.
Wait, no, we weren't there for the Whitney, were we? No, we weren't
Nope.
there for Whitney.
We were-
We
thank
watched
God, that
live
was-
at. Never mind. Anyways, we were somewhere else. But point is, that was bad, really bad, unbearably bad, and I just don't. I mean, I loved Moose return last time out.
Yeah.
The problem is we've never seen him enough to like know what he is. I mean, I think his story is, well, he's ran 7 times in his life. He's won 5 of them. The other 2 were just seconds, and he got the seconds are to Prince of Monaco, and that was at 6 furlongs, and to Fierceness. So I mean, not too disappointing, really. He feels like, to me, the horse that can sit off. I don't think he hasn't won gate to wire since his debut, really. Maybe his second start where he finished second. He tried a little bit, but point is, I don't think he needs the lead. I think I like to see him sit off. And like you said, there's no way they're going to battle it, so they're going to have this thing planned. To me, I'm going Muth on top. I think I really want to pick him in the Classic, like I said in the opening. So we'll see what he does here, if he can win this race. Senior Buscador is interesting for sure as well. Last time, he ran at Del Mar. He ran at 7 furlongs. We all knew, we didn't even consider him in that race. He, of course, was facing the Chosen Brawn and Raging Torrent, and it's like, well, there's no way he can, he has that late kick at that distance, and he didn't. He ran 4th. This is obviously way more of his game, but he won the Saudi Cup, mile and 8th. He went 3rd in Dubai. He's been a nice horse running this distance. I don't know that he's good enough yet. That's what's weird about him.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a horse that's got 12.7 million in earnings, and I just told you I don't know if he's good enough to win. But I think it's a Muth, man. National Treasure or Muth will top the stretch. If Senior Buscador can kind of get some of that late kick, maybe he gets a piece of this thing. But give me Muth.
I think I think it's going to be really a fascinating race. I really think Muth. He could be really, really good. This is the first time I've picked against Muth. I've picked him 7 straight times. So I mean, that kind of shows you. But my worry is, if I think a race is kind of equal, you start to look at the jockeys and it's like Pratt versus Hernandez. Well, shit, that's, at Santa Anita, that's pretty even, isn't it? I mean, Pratt's obviously more accomplished jockey nationwide, but they're at Santa Anita, so I couldn't really separate them there. And of course, same trainer, and you never really know what that rat's doing with any of his horses, so you can't really tell what he wants to do. And the thing I kept going back to, it's like, Muth really hasn't faced a horse like National Treasure other than when he faced Fierceness, and he got kind of beat badly. And National Treasure at his best is capable of running a huge, huge race. It's the unknown of, can Muth go compete with that kind of effort? I'm not 100% sure, but the flip side of it is, can National Treasure go out there and run a big one? I'm not 100% sure of that either. So either horse, I get it.
Well, and I from a guy that I can't remember. I don't know. Did you pick Timberlake in the juvenile?
I switched to Muth.
Okay, so we were 2 Muth guys in that race, and I loved him. I was like, I think, because you remember Fierceness coming into that race after a terrible effort, and that was kind of the start of Fierceness, its legacy, I guess.
Yeah.
But I picked him. I loved Muth, and even after the race, I was like, I mean, shit, he ran like I thought he was going to run,
Right.
and Fierceness just ran off the screen. And so that is the concern here, that you could have that similar situation where you're like, damn, he ran well, but National Treasure, like, one gate to, I was like, that was the Pegasus National Treasure, and so that is a legit concern. And again, like you said, like, you just don't know really. I'll say this: when he came back from the shared belief, obviously he won, and he won like he should have, and he was bet like he should have. But I texted you before, and I was like, holy shit, look at this guy. You could tell he's been eating since March.
Right. Yeah.
He is filled out. I was looking at pictures of him back like San Vicente, Arkansas Derby. He doesn't look like the same horse that he looks like now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's had time to develop. I think he's had time to mature and obviously heal from the issues that were bothering him. he's going to be tough to hold off. I think I like Muth here a lot. And by the way, I think honestly, like how do I want to say this? I think National Treasure needs to win here if you want to take him serious in the Classic.
Agree.
I don't think Muth needs to win here. He needs to run a big race, but I don't think he needs to technically win here if for him to still have a shot at winning the Classic.
Agree.
Okay.
Yep, I totally agree. And I think you could Muth and Senior Busco are both. They just need to get a race, look good. If either of them win, great. But they're both should be in the Classic if they're healthy. And but like you said, with National Treasure, this is a make or break. If he loses this race, he's probably going to go to the mile.
Yeah.
And so, there's that.
And honestly, maybe he should, right? Like that's the thing. Like part of you hopes he loses here because obviously he damn near beat one of the best milers we've seen, and with Cody's Wish and damn near beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he should be in that race, right? And it's hard, but it's also hard to say because he's won that long distance too. So, mile and a quarter, maybe not his game, but this could be his game, is it for sure, mile and 8. So I don't know. We'll see. I part of me hopes he loses, Muth wins. So that way we do have like kind of like that dirt mile with whether it be National Treasure versus Saudi Crown or whoever you want to throw in there.
Yeah. And
then you have Muth coming in, kind of finally getting healthy, coming in as good as he's ever looked against a really top-notch Classic with horses. So that to me is a great storyline. So we'll see. Give us both. No, you're on number 3, National Treasure. I'm on the 6, Muth. We'll see. That's gonna be a hell of a race. Let's go. A few races. I think it's race number 10. Yeah, the City of Hope is a grade 2. We're 200K, 1 mile on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. It is a win you're in. For the FanDuel Mile, field of 9 shows up here, Halterman, and I'll tell you what, I had a tough one. I had a tough time with this one. This is all over the place.
Yeah, this is a really good race. I'm gonna go with a little bit of a price here. Hope I don't regret it, but I went back and forth. I almost took the favorite at 4 to 5, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the 3-year-old. I'm going to go with Tricari to win this race. What is he? The 6 horse, Tricari. Look, I think the horse, 3-year-old, but been running on the East Coast. Usually the turf horses on the East Coast are a little bit better. And this horse, speaking of better, he's just gotten better and better with every race. It just seems like he just keeps improving. He really likes going this 1 mile. You saw him last time out in the Secretariat. He looked great. I think he's got a big shot in here. I really do. And I get the 3 Johannes. I can see why he's the favorite off those 3 victories in a row, but give me another horse that I think's pretty darn good and going to get his 3rd in a row. Give me Tricari in the spot.
I don't hate it, man. I looked at that one for a while, and I that would probably be where I would lean looking for value for sure, because it just seems like a horse that's kind of ran all over the place, and as of late, he's rattled off 4 of the last 5, and really looks good. But and then it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to pick Diamano. I mean, obviously, this dude knows how to win on turf out west, and Pratt comes in and rides Almendares, and got 2nd last time out, and the horse that beat him is stablemate Conclude, and I just felt like I couldn't get a read on either one of them, and if either one of them was good enough to win, you know what I mean? Like, certainly could, like, would be 0% shocked if one of those horses wins here, right? But trying to figure out which one, I was all over the place, and so I ultimately just kind of kept going back to the horse that's 5 for 5 at Santa Anita Turf, 3 for 3 at the mile distance. That's the favorite. I know that's not sexy at all. That's Johannes. I mean, 4 to 5. I hate the price, hate it, but this is a horse that's rattled off 3 in a row. Really has rattled off 6 of the last 7, and guess what? The one loss was in the American Turf at a mile 16th, and just obviously was a little outmatched and didn't want to go that far. But yeah, this is just a really nice horse for Tim Yakteen and Rispoli back aboard to ride. Who's ridden this horse pretty much the whole career, and it's hard to go against a horse that's just dominant at this track and dominant at this distance and is kind of winning all the races out west that horses like that should, right?
Yep.
So give me the Johannes, and honestly, I this isn't. I think if this horse can do what he's been doing here, like he's one that no matter if you don't, whoever comes in, obviously Euros we'll see, but from an American standpoint, it's got to be the one to beat, right, in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens at Keeneland next week as well. But yeah, I mean, he obviously that home track advantage. You talked about Santa Anita. He did go to Del Mar and win over the summer as well. So yeah, I mean, he's the local California horse for sure that everybody's going to have to contend with. And look, I think this is definitely the decision of we're not going to go to the turf. It's maybe too long for him, so let's cut him back. He went to 1 1/8 last time out, and if you believe speed figures, that was his best race of his career. So I thought, they may try to stretch him out a little more, but no, cut him back here. And obviously he's proven he's very good here as well.
All right, let's head on to Sunday. Last one we'll talk about here. Belmont, we'll go back to Belmont's Big A, race number 8, the Miss Grillo Stakes, grade 2. We're 200K going to mile 16th on the turf for the fillies now, for the 2-year-old fillies. This is a win you're in for the juvenile fillies turf. Race number 8 again, field of 12, 13 with an also eligible if you count that. But a field of 12 lines up here, and we played it earlier. We'll play it again. Which Chad Brown will you take?
Yeah, I hate this one. This is a really tough one. I went a lot of different ways trying to think of, how, am I going to get cute here and try to take somebody other than Brown? I just kept going back to, for whatever reason, the number 1 Virgin Colada on top. So that's what I'm going to take. I was really disappointed last time out, though, to be honest, at Saratoga in the PG Johnson. I thought this horse would look pretty good and would win, and got beat and still ran okay, though. Only got beat a half length. I think she'll bounce back here. So kept going back to her. Flavian Pratt gets a back aboard for the 3rd straight time. So give me the 1.
Yeah, and I was underwhelmed with that effort last time.
Yep.
Like I just it wasn't like the horse just like got a bad trip or got like it's just like plain and simple got outran, and it wasn't even really gaining on the winner there at the end. So that was a little disappointing. So for that reason, I am going against, but I am sticking to the barn number 8, Opulent Restraint for Chad Brown, and Irad back aboard has driven this horse first 2 starts, and this to me just kind of feels like a horse that has been kind of the definition of consistent and kind of gets better with each time. Lost on debut, just kind of faltered late, and then next start at Saratoga did it the way you kind of hoped and should have won that race, in my opinion, and now gets into the stakes level competition. So I think it's a horse that's kind of making the right progress as we head into a race like this, and the numbers kind of line up as well. So I expect this thing to be close, regardless of which Chad Brown you're going with. Is there another horse that like you look at a horse like Shifty, who was dominant out at Woodbine and now coming here? Obviously Mark Cassidy had a hell of a Saratoga. Is there other horses besides Chad Brown that you're concerned or interested in?
All of them, honestly. There's really, and I'm being dead serious. There's not a whole lot you can throw out in this race. Some of the horses that are going to go off 15, 20 to 1 they look pretty similar to some of them that are going to go off at 3 to 1, 4 to 1. I looked at the Bill Mott runner here, Scythian, I guess that's how you say it. I thought that's the horse that would be the 11 horse I'm talking about. I thought that horse was really interesting because, didn't do bad really on the dirt, moved to the turf last time out, and I thought ran a very good race, and I know it's a New York bred, but, I still think that horse looked good. Like you watch and you analyze these maiden wins, almost all of them have got a good looking maiden win on the resume. So I really, really think any of them can win this one. This is very wide open. A lot of very lightly raced fillies going 2 turns on the turf. I mean, it's going to be a tough race to get right.
Listen to this. So it's crazy. So there's 12 that'll run, and if it go down the list, okay, so Virgin Colada, 69 and a 70 buyer. Annie is a 55 and a 67. I'll just give it our top. So 67.
Yeah.
65 or 68. 72. Grayson Grit is one of the outliers at a 58 as far as the bottom end. 68 on Good Conduct. 85 on Shifty, so that's an outlier on the top end. 70 Opulent Restraint. Marvelous has got it 68. 69 for Salt. 70 for Scythian. Rare Art 69.
Yeah.
They're all almost between 67 and 70, all of them across the board, except for the one outlier on the bottom and the one outlier on the top. Like you said, is how do you, I mean, any of those could win.
And you said Shifty got an 85. Is that what you said?
Shifty got an 85 on that in that race. Got a 62 on debut. Got an 85 in that one at Woodbine.
And it's so interesting because Shifty got a 90 time form for that race. And that's not like a 90 time form. I'm looking at just tops right now. It's like the 8th or 9th best.
Wow.
So that shows you how different time form saw the race versus buyers. I'm not saying who's right or who's wrong. That's just very interesting. Shifty, a huge standout on buyers. And if you are handicapping just with buyer numbers, that's a single. And then you're looking, if you were handicapping just with time form numbers, that's a total throwout horse. So that just shows you how different they're seeing some of these races as well. That's crazy to me.
That I usually don't. I mean, it's not unusual to have like a standout, say like this case where Shifty is like 3 points lower or something on time form, but to have it be such a bottom end horse on that versus the top, that is pretty rare to see on the comparisons, because I do look at time form as well. It all, this is the horse also was going 6.5 furlongs. Now they stretch out to mile 16th as well. So I think that's a factor that, so I'd be against when you look at just kind of the numbers, at least from a buyer standpoint, I'd be against, but even if you want to go against, like, it would put the horse in a category of where everyone else is, as far as on buyers go. So I just, it's really that wide open.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's 12 horses running and on mate. Here's the thing. Even the horse that I kind of said with the outlier, the Grayson Grit, I mean, the horse went gate to wire and won at a mile 16th.
Do you want to know a real fun fact about Grayson Grit?
I bet you it's one of the highs, right?
It's it's not. Yeah, I mean, well, it's higher than Shifty, who is the standout.
Wow.
So that's crazy in itself. The standout high buyer versus the standout low buyer actually has a higher time form. The low buyer has a higher time form than the high buyer.
Yeah. You never see that.
That's insane. And it just shows you how spread out it is. But yeah, Grayson Grit, a 93 on time form. And like I said, that puts her in the top 3 or 4, it looks like, just quickly looking at it. So also kind of shows you, numbers are just one thing, and you really, 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 really don't want to just rely on one thing.
Oh, and by the way, these are all 2-year-old fillies who have 1 or 2 starts, basically.
Right.
So it went from being a tough race to an impossible race.
Yeah,
so.
I'm glad you read those out. We didn't plan to do that or anything. That just shows you how wild this race is, truly.
Well, maybe we'll get some clarity on Sunday, but my guess is not. We'll find out though who wins when they run. You are going with who?
I am going to go. Who did I say? I'm going to go
Virgin Colada.
Virgin Colada, the one.
Yeah, I'll go with the 8 Opulent Restraint.
I was like, who did I pick again?
You've had too many. Well, no, you've had the non-Virgin Coladas, I think.
That's right. Yeah. I'm not touching.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to touch that one.
No, no way. I'm I know that guy too well.
No way.
No.
Not doing it. Man. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Go check us out at racingdudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on the products page. Click the Get Racing Dudes Premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com to learn more. This weekend, guys, and really the next 2 weekends, we will be having we're giving out. So what we've done is we've refreshed the Betting Bible look. So, we've kind of, it started off as it's obviously gone through several different changes, whether if you want to go all the way back to the inside track wagering guides, to shifting to the betting Bible, to another version of the betting Bible. We feel like we've honed it in to be the best of both worlds. You're getting everything you want from the original inside tracks that have a lot of just basic analysis, to we're coming back to giving you exactly who we're betting in that race and the amount. And are also including all the other picks that you want to as well. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. I say all that because we're giving it to you guys for free for the next couple of weeks. We're going to do the California Crown, that race, so that we have a look at the way it's going to be done in the betting Bible for the Breeders' Cup, which will obviously have every race. But we'll offer that for free. I'll send out an email. It'll be available later on, either today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow by the time it's done. But it will be free. You just got to download it in the dashboard. But again, you don't need to have a subscription or anything. You just need to log in to the dashboard, and it will be free in your account. So that way you get a look at what this thing is going to look like. And then obviously over the next couple of weeks, we will start pre-selling the betting Bible for the Breeders' Cup. So I'm excited for it, dude.
Yeah, listen, the betting Bibles, we have really kind of tried to tweak those over this year to make them a lot better. And this is far and away the best thing we've ever put out. So if you need help handicapping over the next couple of weeks on the big race, like Jared said, the big race will be free. Go ahead and do that. And if you feel like you need help with the Breeders' Cup, this is the product. Like, this is what you're going to want. Trust me on that. And you'll see it up close. So if you need help, you like to support the website, that Breeders' Cup Betting Bible is going to be the best thing we've ever put out by a large margin. And I cannot wait to do it. Like, I am super excited for it.
So this is a look at it. Obviously it'll be filled in, but it's got a little bit of everything. It's got more of analysis of the pace. We're adding in workouts, guys. So workout analysis, we always make mention of those on Blinkers Off, like this horse is working out and working well, not work. But so we're going to include kind of analysis of those, like who we think is, at least based on the workouts, who's looking good going into the race. We're going to have all of, obviously the picks and plays, the wins, the long shots, exactas, trifectas, our top fours. But then you see there, we're going to actually hone in on, here's the bet. Here's the play. This is my win bet. This is my exacta. Here's the amount of bankroll I'm playing on this race. So it's going to give you exact analysis of kind of like, okay, do you want a little bit of everything? And then here's who I'm betting. We're going to give you our analysis of that, of why we're playing that pick. And then the last part is just really for your records when you're going through these, because I know I do. I print them out. And I mark down how we're doing and stuff. So this is just exactly like, hey, profit, loss, here's how it's gone. Did we hit it? Did we cash? How much did we make? That kind of thing. Because I know a lot of people like to print them out and update them as we go. So definitely looking forward to adding this to the site. And I think it's just a perfect kind of, like I said, it's a perfect. We tossed around a lot of ideas back and forth, and there's a lot of revisions back and forth of like, hey, let's try this, let's do this. And to me, this covers everything that we used to do, all the big stuff, but it also gives the people like, hey, I just want to look at who are they betting in that race.
Yeah, each race is going to have a dedicated page, and that page is going to kind of read a little bit like a plot of a book or a movie. You're going to get analysis, you're going to get more analysis, you're going to narrow down a little bit of what this thing's all about, narrow down a little bit more, then you get to the ending there of, okay, we've got all the analysis. Now here's what they've derived from that analysis, the exact bet, why they're doing it. So, to have a dedicated page for each race at the Breeders' Cup that's going to be coming up, and that would be Friday and Saturday, both those days. I mean, it is a massive, massive upgrade to anything we've ever done. And like I said, we can sit here and talk about it all we want, but you're going to get to see it live and in action with the California Crown this week. And I'm guessing the Keeneland Mile next week, Jared. We haven't talked about it, but I guess that's what it is. So you do get those for free, and you can kind of take a look at it. And like I said, if you want that Breeders' Cup Bible, you can buy it separately. That'll be coming up here soon, the pre-order at least, or you could just be a subscriber and get that for free. So again, I would say we have really, really put a lot of work into making this the best thing we possibly can. And I think we've got it right for a large part of last year and the year before, with honing in on what, really giving people what they want. But this is more of, you still have that aspect. You have the old aspect. You feel like when you've bought this thing, you're not just getting a pick for each race. You're getting a deep analysis, a pick, and then, of course, picks from everybody at Racing News as well.
I'll say this, so it's from what, if you remember last year's betting Bibles, which were just basically all it was the bet and the bet analysis. That's it. So the two little sections down there at the bottom, that's all you got from each race. And Halterman on Saturday had a plus 88% ROI on Saturday at the Breeders' Cup. I had a plus 162% on Saturday at the Breeders' Cup. You're getting everything that we did last year, plus way more in this year's betting Bible. So if you follow along last year, and we had a lot of people that purchased last year's betting Bible at the Breeders' Cup, if you followed along, you were profitable for both Friday and Saturday, because I made money on Friday as well. Mm-hmm. You were profitable both days, and now you're getting that plus more for this year's Breeders' Cup betting Bible. So definitely looking forward to that, honing in. Again, you can't do a lot with the Breeders' Cup until October, and really a couple weeks into October. So we're honing in on that, but obviously we'll give you a little taste of that, what this is going to look like over the next couple of weeks for free. So be on the lookout, guys. If you haven't, make sure you are a subscriber. Not even if you want to be an email subscriber. So that way you will be alerted whenever we do have updates, when we do have things that come out. I will send that out in the email. And then, of course, you can log in and get access to that. We're on Twitter at Racing_Dudes, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all the places you want to watch and listen. We are there. Make sure you go to that YouTube page, hit that like, subscribe, and notification button so you'll get alerted. Dudes Who Bet Sports, the Magic Mike Show. You guys they're coming up here soon. Have you guys done Dudes Who Bet?
Yeah, Dudes Who Bet Sports will be at 6:30 tonight. We'll go over, of course, college football and the NFL. NFL been very, very tough to predict through the first 3 weeks, and spoiler alert, be very tough to predict this week as well, I think. The college football got the just massive game, the Alabama-Georgia game this weekend. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. I can't remember. Every week it's been like the eliminator thing that ESPN does, for NFL. They're like almost like everyone's out. The big favorites, keep winning or losing these first weeks, and the Bengals have been a cause for that, of course. And there's been a few teams that have been surprises. Who's your biggest surprise at 3-0, and who's your biggest surprise at 0-3? I mean, the Bengals have to be 0-3 if to be your biggest surprise.
Yeah, I think it's an easy question on the disappointing side of it. I mean, I don't know how the Bengals are 0-3, especially with who they've played. You think about losing games to the Commanders and the Patriots. It's just awful. That's just the best. I can't put it any other way. It's just awful. Obviously the Vikings and the Steelers are your two candidates for surprise for 3-0. I would have to say the Vikings, though, over the Steelers is biggest surprise. Even though Pittsburgh every year, the last 4 or 5 years at least, comes in with a roster that makes you go, I don't think they'll win very many, and they do. But the Vikings being 3-0 is just a shock. And the biggest reason is, I mean, Sam Darnold has been
he looks awesome.
A guy and I am highly skeptical that can continue. But at the same time, there's no sign. If you were living in another world and you showed up and said, hey, I'm going to watch NFL football for the first time this year, he's looked like one of the better quarterbacks in the league through 3 weeks. If he can keep that up, the Vikings will be a very good team. I'm just skeptical that he will.
I'll say this, and there's we'll find out. But here's the thing. Here's the trajectory of his career. He got drafted by the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's pre-Rodgers Jets, right? Whenever they were trying to building that up. So then he goes where quarterbacks go to die, and that's Carolina, and maybe the most dysfunctional organization. And then he goes to the 49ers and plays backup, right? And whatever. And now he's here. So it's like. And he was brought here to be backup. So let's make that clear as well. and then JJ gets hurt and whatever. So we don't even know really what Sam Darnold is. He finally had, last year I'm sure he learned a lot in San Francisco under a good quarterback, good organization, good coaching. Comes here, it's working, man. And by the way, it's like he's like it's not like he's just like playing very conservative and they've got a good they do have a good core around him, obviously. But man, he's making some throws that are just, he looks the part. He looks elite.
I just can't see it holding up. But there's no doubt, again, if you just judge him on the 3 games he's played with Minnesota, he's a very good quarterback. He's looked very good. I mean, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. What is that from him? You've never seen that kind of thing, production from him. So I'm rooting for him. I know he kind of got dinged up a little bit last week, and I don't know who I was texting, maybe the fantasy football group, and I said, I hate that. I hope he's fine because this is a great story. I root for guys that everybody's kind of wrote off and said they couldn't do it, and they come out and they look like this. That's a great story. I root for guys like that. Again, though, I am realistic with the expectations of it probably can't continue like this, but can it continue at a level where he's still good enough to get them in the playoffs and be successful? That's kind of my realistic approach to it. Is if he cools off, hopefully he doesn't cool off to the point where it's horrible again. So, but they're a huge shock to me. They've beaten some teams that people are high on. They got to play another team that people like, that obviously a decent team in the Packers this week on the road. So another big test for him.
Yeah, divisional game, that'll be tough. And obviously the Packers, after losing Jordan, I don't think Jordan Love's going to come back this week, but for a team that looked dead in the water after that injury, and Malik Willis is just, that to me that's been a quarterback that's getting the job done, but maybe doesn't look ultimately great. I mean, he looks okay, but he looks like, they have salvaged what could have been a disaster start to the season. The one thing too about the Vikings, it feels like they always are. Like last year, they struggled a little bit earlier. Other years, they look really good early, and then they kind of falter late. So you never know really with the Vikings and what they'll end up doing. But it has been a surprise, to say the least. Justin Fields has been a surprise in Pittsburgh. I don't.
Justin Fields has been below average, I would say.
But even,
they know how to win, dude. They just know how to win.
Tomlin is an insanely good coach, man.
That every year, the last, like I said, 5 years, you're like, this is the year they're going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And every year they're good or adequate, and I don't know how they're doing it, but here they are 3-0,
Are they ever bad
no.
On defense? Like
nope.
Ever?
Never. Never.
Like every year they're so tough on defense.
Yep.
And just and they're just a very, like I said, very well coached team.
Yep. They win those when they get in games where it's like, I don't know, it's gonna be tight. They just seem to win their fair share of those tight games, And every week they get in those spots, and they like Falcons, Broncos, Chargers. Those are 3 wins, but it feels like every week they get in those spots, and then the uniform wins the game, so to speak. It's like, we're the Steelers, you're the Falcons, we're winning this game if it's close. Type of thing. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
That's how I feel. And it's not the uniform, it's more of the organization and how they operate. But, Broncos, Steelers, that game was close, but they're the Steelers. They're going to win, and I feel like that's just, and again, they go to Indianapolis this week. If the game is close, who do you think is going to win the game?
Oh, for sure. It'll be the Steelers without question.
That's the challenge for Indianapolis. I think for them to win, they're going to have some separation. They're capable of doing that, but they may not,
I just think there is a difference when you have a quarterback. Like you said, Fields, he's not like he's gone out there and just looked like Sam Darnold, as far as surprise go. But
right,
when you've got that defense behind you and you've got, he plays the game like he's supposed to be playing the game. You know what I mean? Like he's doing the things that he's done right. And he hasn't had those critical errors that can cost, especially when you don't have a defense. So I
Well,
just think he's done enough to where it's like, okay, I mean, he probably fits that team pretty well.
if you look at the team they're playing this week, Fields versus Richardson, right? Anthony Richardson for the Colts. They're very similar until you get to one stat: turnovers.
Yeah.
You said it. Fields has thrown 1 interception. Richardson has thrown 6. If you flip those two quarterbacks, the records probably flip, and it's probably because of that right there.
There is not a guy in the NFL, by the way, that has a more like Richardson. Some of the throws and touchdowns he's thrown have been out of this world. Like unbelievable. Like I can't even believe that he threw that and it's been on a dime.
Yeah.
There's other ones where you're like, he's 5 feet away and he threw like he had one of the worst picks I've ever seen in my whole life last week in the red zone. And he threw that. It's like, what are you doing? It's like I can't. He's I don't know what if he's just unpolished, if he's just not good, if he's got elite talent but he's not overall good. I don't know. He's frustrating.
He's just wildly inconsistent, and unfortunately, wildly inconsistent at the quarterback position. You're not going to win, and that's where they're at. I mean, they've been in close games too, and he's hurt them instead of help them for the majority of the time. So. Again, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. It's very early, but you throw 6 picks through 3 games. This is the NFL. There's not a lot of difference between any of these teams. And if you are a quarterback that's turning the ball over a lot in the NFL, you're not going to have success, period.
Well, we'll find out. It's a good big weekend of football. We'll see.
Yep.
It feels the Chiefs have a bye after this week. So they're going to go to LA for the Chargers. That feels like a game they should win, but sometimes those games are the ones they lose. I thought maybe the Falcons game might be that game, but they've found ways to win these games. But boy, you're talking about a 3-0 team that, it's like, it's a weird thing because it's like, if you would have said, like, who's the team that could be 3-0? Well, if you said the Chiefs are going to be 3-0, you're like, all right, I mean, not a surprise. But when you watch these last 3, God, I mean, there's a case you could say they could be 0-3, and they just find ways to win games. But and I'm not overly concerned because it's the Chiefs and they just kind of screw around early in the season. The fact that they're 3-0 is a major problem for everybody else because they'll figure it out.
I forget. Nick Saban talked about this last week. I was watching an interview with Nick Saban. He wasn't talking about the Chiefs, but he was talking about. He had a phrase for it. And I don't remember what it was, but basically what he says is, he said the hardest thing to do as a team, player, coach, whatever aspect of it is not be satisfied with a lot of success, and he said, he was talking about OU softball actually, because they were at Oklahoma, and he was like, it's amazing that they can keep winning national titles every year because every coach, player, what team, the success usually gets them, and I think with the Chiefs, what it is, those guys completely know this is meaningless shit for them right now. And you saw that last year so much. Get into the playoffs, we'll get in, and then we will beat whoever we play. And it feels that way as well, because when you look at the teams they played the Ravens, who are probably the best team they played, even though they're 1-2. I still think the Ravens are pretty good. And then they played the Bengals, who weren't very good, and they probably should have got beat, right? But they didn't. And then Atlanta probably should have beat them, but they didn't. They're playing to the level of the competition. It looks very clear to me.
Yeah, they just kind of like they just screw around, really. Yes. And Andy's never been, he never like showcases his playbook early in the season. It's always like these weird play calling's always kind of questionable. You're like, what are we doing, And obviously, it's not been great from a standpoint of you've lost Pacheco for probably most of the year. You've lost Hollywood before you even started.
Yeah.
So Worthy is still, we're figuring out what Worthy is or what his utilization in the offense. So the things that you thought were different this year, the speed, man, the downfield threats, well, they haven't really been there yet, and now you've lost Pacheco. Rasheed looks like a legit guy. Kelsey has been asleep the first 3 weeks. and yet they're 3-0.
Well, Saban said, my guys, by the last 2, 3, 4 years I were there, they just wanted it to be November. They just knew they needed to be November. And I think with the Chiefs, most of these guys, it's a month later because they start the playoff a month later in the NFL. The Chiefs probably just want it to be December. Shottyman, what's up with Kelsey? I don't really know, other than he probably just wants it to be December. He's an older guy. He knows this is bullshit. He just needs to make the playoff run, and then you'll see him. I really believe that's what it is.
I think Kelsey has, I don't know if this is his last season or next, but I think he's down to his last couple. And I think on top of that, I think he's got about 8 to 10 games left in him that are like Kelsey prime. You know what I'm saying? Like,
which will come in December and January.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And so he's sitting there thinking, why am I going to give 110% against the Falcons?
You're not.
In week 3 when, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was banged. And
100%.
He was banged up a lot early in the year last year as well. So he didn't get going until later in the year either. So I'm not. This is what it is, right? And teams are triple covering him. And guess what? Here's the thing. Who's the new Travis Kelce? It's Rashee Rice, because he picks them apart on those little slants and curls and just gets open whenever Travis Kelce's got 2 or 3 guys on him.
Yeah.
And he is like that. He is that possession guy. Who is Mahomes going to on 3rd and 8 and needing those big plays? Who did he go to when the pass interference was called against the Bengals?
Yeah,
it's late in the game. It was Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
So he has turned into be that safety net that wasn't there for him last year. So it was Travis Kelce. But so I think that's been a huge thing too in the thing. And by the way, you talked about Saban. We'll get off the Chiefs. I have so thoroughly enjoyed having Saban non-coach Saban, and hearing is there a guy in either sport?
No,
like as far as like NFL or college football in the last however many years, it's like I want to hear what he's going to say, because I 1000% trust what he's about to say.
I've never listened to an analyst more than him. 100%. I couldn't agree more. He's just brutally honest, and the stuff that he says comes true. They were talking about Nico from Tennessee, who's a great player, great quarterback, going to be great. And it was his first true road game. And they were talking about a couple neutral site games, how he just tore them up. And Saban looked at him and said, you guys have never coached a freshman in a game. He goes, all that stuff you're saying is nonsense. When they get in their first true road game, he said he will not look like himself out there tonight. I promise you that. And what did he do? He turns it over twice. He throws for 150 yards. He had moments where it's like, oh, there he is. But he was clearly rattled. And he said, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And I thought, out of all the years I've watched this TV show that I'm watching, I've never heard somebody just bluntly say, none of you have any idea what you're talking about. I've coached guys in this situation. Here's exactly what's going to happen. And then you go watch the game, and exactly what he said would happen. He talked about sending Tua on his first road game when Tua went on the road for the first time. Now, mind you, Tua had won the national championship the year before. He came in the year before and won that national championship game. He said, we got on the road. I forget where it was even. First road game. He said, our coaches looked at me at the half. He said, what is wrong with this guy? He is terrible. And he said, guys, he's on the road for the first time. Help him out. You can't expect him. And he said, now, that shit, you got to learn how to play on the road. And I thought, man, that is just fascinating, to hear that kind of stuff. So he's been unbelievable. He's out last week. He's in Norman hitting off the softball pitchers. I mean, he's everywhere, man. So I love Saban. He's
really good with Pat, like on the game day, and he's kind of that back and forth. But I saw a thing because after the game, the Chiefs game, Mahomes interview or whatever, like the press conference, he was real critical, as he should be, right? If not just the offense, but himself, like about how because Mahomes does not look Mahomes-esque this start of the season at all.
He's average.
at best. And but he acknowledged that. And so they had Saban was like they were watching that, and he was giving his analysis of it. And he's like, man, that's what you want to see from your guy, your leader. Like that is exact. And by the way, Saban knows a thing or two about early in the year being the dominant team, and maybe how to, how he demands his team, and knowing like when they need to build. He's like, when you are winning games and you still are looking at your play and your performance and saying, we're not good at this, we're not good at that, we got to. He's like, that's what you want to see from a leader, and I have no doubt he'll take care. They'll figure that out. But I just really have enjoyed watching and listening to what Saban has said, because I think it's just like it's like he coached for so long, but he also coached all these NFL guys. Alabama is like building these guys going to the NFL, so he knows. It's not like, he knows college. He knows all. He knows both.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, exactly. And he knows how to fail in the NFL as well, so he can kind of give you that aspect of, well, here's what we did and we did it wrong. I heard him say that last week. I forget what they were talking about. And that's the thing, like Curtis Manilow says, I can't stand McAfee on game day, and he's an acquired taste for sure, but McAfee's has Saban on, I think it's Thursdays or Fridays, and that conversation's great because, again, McAfee will ask him anything and Saban will answer it, so anyway, it's been.
I love him. I think he is a acquired taste, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you saw it, but I don't know if you were driving or what. But he did like the boomer.
Yep.
And then Texas. And he threw out Tennessee, and he's like, you can say any name you want there, and they'll say it. It was hilarious. And I just think he adds like this level of fun that the game day is kind of missing.
It depends on, if you want to watch it for serious analysis, maybe that's not your guy. But I like him because he kind of epitomes what college football is, right? The goofiness, the craziness. He embraces it. He goes to the campus. I think he's really good for college football, honestly. And you may not like him, but I think he's great for college football.
Shoddy, Falcons, big game tonight. Big game tonight. We the 4-0 Falcons take on the 4-1 Dolphins. Their loss came to us earlier in the year. It's the last time we'll play them. The other two teams are 1-4 and 0-4. So it's clearly between us two. We won 22-6 on the first game. We did not have our best player that week as well. So I expect we should win. But I'll be honest, and I gave my guys a talk this week at practice. I said, if you play the Dolphins like you've played these last 2 weeks, we will lose. We've played the two worst teams, and they've won, but it wasn't ultra impressive. And so we'll see. We'll see if my guys, come up to build up to the game, and we'll find out. So it should be it'll be our last big test. I did find out the way it works is like after we have 4 weeks left, I think, and then because we had 4 games, it's 8 weeks or 8 game schedule. Then after that, it gets seeded into a bracket, and then there's only 4 teams, right? So whatever. Right, yeah. And then you play, and then it's like all in one day or all in one night you play, and then if you win, you play in the championship. So
all right,
it really doesn't mean a whole lot because we're guaranteed to get one of the 2 seeds, and we're definitely we should win the first semifinal, right? Whether you're the 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So this is basically, I guess the long story of saying, this is the last time we play the Dolphins until the Super Bowl, Super Bowl. So
yeah, we'll see. For pride. This is for pride tonight. That's what you got to drive home. This is for pride. We're not...
if you remember the movie, one of the greatest movies of all time. Remember the Titans. Mm-hmm. We don't plan on losing, right? I'm not. I demanded perfection from my guys, and I'll be damned if we're not going to get it.
That's right. You prepare to win.
We're not here to go 1 loss, 2 loss on the year. No. We're here to win them all.
Well, we're playing against ourselves, not these teams.
That's right.
The standard is the standard, right? And all those other teams can do what they want, but we got a different standard, and that's what you got to preach in games like this. And hopefully they respond to that.
It was pretty funny. There they struggle a little bit with the play calling. They don't understand the plays, or they don't pay attention to the plays. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And so we really worked on that this week. But last week they struggled, and they wouldn't, and it was like third down, and we were winning, but it wasn't like a huge lead. And I said, whatever. I said, just, and I was like pissed, I was like, just run the ball. And he said, which way? I said, I don't care. Whatever way you want to go. And the kid takes it to the house. Cause it's like, at the end of the day, I was like, oh, well, you know what? We'll just run the ball, because these kids, I mean, we have like this kid that's just insanely fast. I couldn't catch him. And I'm like, all right, so maybe we just got to stop overthinking it. So
I think so. Hand him the ball. That's what I would do.
There we go. But
30 or 40 times.
We're just, it's going to be like the old, Penn State Army, Army. We're just going to run the shit out of the ball.
Yeah.
If you throw it, that means it's a bad look. So, but I think too is we play a little bit to our competition. That's a little bit of a similar, like, they get a little bored. One kid was last week we got up 14-0 real quick, and he's like, I kind of feel bad. We're just beating. I was like, and so they let up. I mean, no. Gotta step on their throats, all right? So we're working on it. But we'll find out. I'll give you a report. I'll text, that's one of, like, literally I get back to my truck, and the first text I do is to Alterman to tell the score. So you're welcome. You're welcome for that.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah, me and John White. That's usually who gets it.
John, yeah, they love the I literally, I'll send I have a gift that I send to the group, the John White, our group we have, and it's just a flag of the of the Falcons flag waving or whatever, and I send it. I mean, it's not 10 seconds goes by. Halterman texts, "What was the score?" Or he'll just say "score?" ? That's all he's wants to know.
I want to see if you covered the spread.
It's pretty funny. We don't really have a fullback now. I mean, it's flag football, Curtis, so it's like you can't really block anyways. You're not supposed to. So I have a play. It's like I have two running backs that are side by side in the backfield, and the first one it's a fake to the whatever way you want to go, but one cuts across, it's like a counter, but it's a fake the first handoff, and then the next go the other way. If they would run that damn thing the right way, it works every time. But it works like on our end, it works like half the time. You'll be breaking from the huddle, and then there'll be one kid will go, "Is it? So it's a run, right?" And you're like, yeah, it's a run. Thanks for letting everyone know. So
now everyone knows. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So good. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend, and good luck to the Falcons tonight.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.